Chants of Black Lives Matter and calls for justice in downtown Fort Wayne. About 40 people gathered on the Allen County Courthouse green this evening in the killing of Daunte Wright. Wright, a 20-year-old black man, was fatally shot Sunday afternoon by police during a traffic stop in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center. This is the scene around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock this evening in Fort Wayne. We're going to have more about Wright's death and the organization outside the courthouse a little later in the show. Shortly after George Floyd was killed, protesters marched for justice. Nearly a year later, the rallies increased as the trial began for the former officer, Daunte Chauvin, charged with Floyd's death. Now there are more marches around Minneapolis for a different reason. Camila Bernal is in Minneapolis tonight with more.
Protesters gather as troops stand guard. The cries in the streets different from the tearful testimony in the courtroom.
That's my oldest brother, George. He just knew how to make people feel better.
Over the course of 11 days, the jury has heard from 38 witnesses.
I believe that Mr. George Floyd's death was absolutely preventable.
Prosecutors prepared to wrap their case against Derek Chauvin.
Both the knee across Mr. Floyd's neck and the prone restraint were unreasonable, excessive, and contrary to generally accepted police practices.
Tuesday, Chauvin's team is expected to explain why the former Minneapolis police officer should be acquitted.
Sometimes situations may look awful, but they may be lawful.
The tension around the trial increased after police in a nearby suburb shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright.
This was an accidental discharge that resulted in the tragic death of Mr. Wright.
To keep the peace, sporting events in the area have been canceled. National Guard troops deployed and curfews put in place. But this crowd vows to stay vocal until they see change. In Minneapolis, I'm Camila Bernal.